Welcome to the Future Film Podcast.
This week we're talking about bats and bombs.
Enjoy the show.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Future Film Podcast. Mike is chuckling over in the corner because he saw me do the hand signal that I always do, like Peter McKinnon. The Peter McKinnon hand crossing at the beginning of the YouTube video.
So anyway, I'm Ethan.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Kyler, your Peter McKinnon obsessed host.
Yep, that is true. Well, before we start out the pod, we want to actually go ahead and give a big shout out to someone I know so close and dearly that I share a house with because he is my brother. And yeah, my brother, he guessed out, what was it? The Dark Knight?
Yeah.
What did he guess exactly? I don't even remember.
So Jonathan Snyder, congratulations. You guessed the movie from our last time.
Shout out.
Which we totally forgot about, and we're sorry. But you guessed The Dark Knight. Granted, you guessed the character incorrectly. You know, the clip was, I don't know. You said the person who said the line was either Alfred or Harvey Dent, and it was the other one, and I can't remember now. It's been way too long.
The other one?
Yeah.
I want to look it up, actually.
I don't remember what the
It was on
end of
Instagram.
the clip was.
It was on Instagram.
It was?
I'm pretty sure.
All right,
it
we're
was.
going to look it up.
Did we play the Gordon's speech at the end of the movie?
No,
Okay.
it wasn't it.
What's her name called? Red Relic?
Yeah.
Shout out to Red Relic. That's us.
Look, we just got one more sub.
Look at us.
Oh.
Keep going down.
Shout out to our Instagram page. Go like, follow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here it is. Found it.
Oh, never mind.
The caption is, "But the night is darkest just before the dawn." Our next podcast.
Okay, there we go.
The thing. Jonathan said Alfred from Batman: The Dark Knight.
And you are incorrect because it was Harvey Dent
It was
who
Harvey
said that.
But good job for actually
Yes, good job
corroborating.
for interacting and guessing the movie correctly. Measly 3-person applause. But good job. Sorry for forgetting you last time. We love you. Thanks for listening. So I need to interrupt this program for a breaking news bulletin. 2020 strikes again. Actor Sean Connery has died. I know this is kind of old news at this point, but since it is, since we are a movie podcast and he was a big movie star, it sucks. It's a very sucky loss. Every time I think about Sean Connery, he feels like a dad. Because I remember watching him in Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, and he plays the father in that movie, but still, every time I look at him, I'm just like, man, he just feels like a dad. He feels like I could just snuggle up to him when I was a kid and like be comforted by him. I know that might be weird, but it is what it is.
This actor could be my actual father.
Hi, father. That's not my father.
So he was most famously known for portraying Ian Fleming's James Bond. He was the first James Bond actor. He played James Bond for several years. He even stopped playing James Bond at one point. They replaced him with another actor, George Lazenby, who did really poorly, and he was only James Bond once. And then they had Sean Connery back to play him in some more movies. He also played in movies like Entrapment, I already said Indiana Jones, and several others like Highlander and some others that I can't think of. But 2020 sucks. His death follows Chadwick Boseman's, the great Black Panther, who Marvel will not be like CGIing in the second movie.
Very sadly.
Yeah, they're gonna try and figure out another way around that. But
I didn't even know that. I haven't heard any news. I've been kind of living under a rock lately.
well, if you've been living under a rock, then have you heard about Alex Trebek dying?
Host of Jeopardy.
You don't even know who that is?
No, I knew Jeopardy. I didn't know that he died.
Yeah, he had cancer and he passed away.
Pancreatic.
Just recently, even after Sean Connery's death.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to give everyone who's listening permission to, whatever you're doing, just stop, sit up, and just yell out into the sky. 2020 sucks eggs! I don't care if you're at work listening to this, explain to your boss that the podcast told you to do it. Just yell, 2020 sucks eggs. That is all.
2020 sucks!
I was waiting for that one. I knew one of the two of you
I didn't want to break people's ears this time.
The rip. My staple. Rip headphone users.
Yeah, seriously.
I got away from the mic. I aimed that way.
So anyway, newsflash over. 2020 sucks eggs. Hopefully 2021 will be better and we can deal with life more efficiently. But moving on, we're going to talk about our movie fact of the week. So if you didn't catch it from the title or our intro, we are talking about The Dark Knight Rises. The epic conclusion to the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy. And as we all know, Christopher Nolan loves practical effects. In Tenet, he actually drove a 747 into a building and blew it up. It was real. And so whenever I was watching, it was awesome. Whenever I was rewatching The Dark Knight Rises and the opening scene where one plane attaches cables to another plane, upends it, and breaks off the wings, whenever that happened, I just sat there and I was thinking, oh, that has to be real. Of course, he had to have done that practically. I looked it up. There's no confirmation that I could find.
Did Christopher Nolan actually do The Dark Knight?
He did all three.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Batman
that.
Begins, The Dark Knight Rises.
Gotcha. Okay.
And anyway, he actually did shoot this scene practically. I couldn't find any confirmation as to if the wings breaking off when the plane upends. I couldn't find if that was real or CG, but he actually did release a plane from those cables and drop it to the earth. Practical effect. It was shot, I think, in either Scotland or Ireland, really high up in the mountains, so that no one was around. So yeah, Christopher Nolan is wonderful.
The things people do for movies, man, it's kind of insane.
Well, I mean, he's a genius director. They'll give him whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So.
Because they know that they'll make their money back from it.
Yeah, seriously.
Because I know Kyler already forgot. I'm going to bring up
Uh-oh.
how Bane was introduced.
Yeah, please do. Hold on.
Run sheet, people.
The first character introduced is Dr. Pavel. The next character introduced is Bane, the mercenary, the masked man. Around 9:40ish in the movie, Miranda Tate is introduced at 10:18. Mr. Daggett's introduced at 15:40. Selena Kyle's introduced. Suck it, Ethan.
I mean, you forgot, but you...
I did, but I actually wrote it into my notes.
He kept a
Okay.
record of it.
Because I knew you would do this.
But anyway, one thing I noticed, though, they actually introduced him the same way that they introduced Joker in the last movie.
Really?
Like, the goons... In the first movie, it was Joker, or it was one of the goons disguises... I'm sorry. Joker disguises one of the goons, and they're talking, blah, blah, blah.
And it's
They
like
say,
about talking
why do
about
they
his
call
war
him
paint.
the Joker?
Talking about the war paint and stuff.
Yeah, you're just talking, and then he just appears out of nowhere. Same thing. They were on the plane, and Bane was hiding underneath the thing, and yeah.
Huh.
And then...
I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. They have a rhythm going on here. But
So is it okay if I go ahead and talk about Bane as
Absolutely
an actor?
never.
Yeah, why
Or
not?
I guess
Let's get into it. I
Tom
don't care.
Hardy as
Tom
an actor.
Hardy. If you're gonna rip on him,
No.
Oh,
Actually,
okay, good.
So, okay,
Because I wrote stuff about Bane in this
Venom
movie as well.
is obviously way newer than The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, 6 years after.
He still acts just as well then as he does now, or maybe I said that in reverse.
As he works just as well now as he did then.
As then.
There you
go.
go.
He's always one for the real like hardcore roles,
Yeah.
and if he needs to like do some sort of like grunge type role, that's who you go to for it. Is Tom Hardy.
Yeah. I really actually appreciate the portrayal of Bane in this movie. A lot of people get their panties in a wad about how he doesn't look anything like the comic book character.
Yeah.
He's not. Well, I think the comic book character was Hispanic even.
Like the original, like
The original
with the black
Bane
suit
with the black suit and the
thing on
hoses in his
Yeah.
back. All of that. I think he was.
and he's not
Hispanic.
like 400 pounds of muscle.
Of muscle. Yeah. No, I think people get their panties in a wad a little bit too much about that. I don't think the mask is a bad addition. I think it's really cool. It adds to the comic book bookiness of the movie.
They didn't get Batista to play it.
They just got like a normal body.
He wouldn't have been a bad.
Honestly, Batista
Bane.
would have been a really good Bane, just as more of an accurate depiction.
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I agree, but I mean, yeah, he would have been a good second choice.
But Tom Hardy still takes the cake.
Friggin' Hardy.
Yep.
He has become one of my favorite actors, which is a little bit surprising. I never really thought of him as one of my favorites, and then I'm realizing he works with Christopher Nolan so much.
He's also a really good voice actor at that. Like with Venom, a lot of the voice with Venom.
Yeah, it's Tom Hardy.
Yeah, it's just Tom Hardy and his voice. Like there, obviously with any movie you're gonna have like the special effects and with the what do we call it, the touch-ups, but a lot of it was just him and his alterations of his voice. Same thing here with Bane. Obviously he's got the thing over his face, his mouth, so it's gonna muffle a little bit, and he's got to have that accent. But I mean, that's him. You know, he's good at that type of stuff.
Yeah. Talking about other actors who played characters in this movie, I really, really, really appreciated Anne Hathaway's depiction of Catwoman.
I'm sorry.
I think
it was actually really good.
I really love it. I think that to have Catwoman be portrayed back in the 80s whenever Michelle Pfeiffer played her, I think Michelle Pfeiffer did a great job, but I mean, it was a very comic book interpretation, which is fair, and it's hers, and it's classic. But to see this Batman reality, it is based in a real world. How would Batman operate and look in the real world? That's why the Batmobile looks the way it does. It's not some fantasy car with wings attached to the back. It's a tank to fight in a war. And so to see Catwoman become so practical and a lot more subtle. Sorry for the little clicking in the background. That's my cat rolling her toy around. But to see her portray this character just so much more subtly and a little bit more woman-like in a way, I really, really enjoyed it. I think she was a very good pick for Catwoman.
So I need a foldable table and a white poster in front of it, because I'm going to say Anne Hathaway is the best Catwoman. Change my mind.
Man, I don't know if I can. I really like it. And you know what? I really like what they did with the romance between her and Bruce.
Yes.
It is not overstated. It's not a big theme in the movie. It's there. But, and you know what? It actually, there's this scene when Bruce meets her at that charity event to get his mother's pearls back, and they have this dance, and that mirrors Batman Returns with Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer really, really well, because they had some kind of dance like that as well, where they got to know each other a little bit better and their character developed. And I think they did a really good job with that. I think that the romance is very intriguing because, again, it's not overstated. It's not in your face. It's not... Catwoman isn't coming on to Batman so much that it's so overtly that it's just heavy-handed.
Yeah, it's not the whole like seductive like how Catwoman is usually. So like obviously it's Catwoman,
like a romance than
Yeah. I was gonna say usually with Catwoman she has that like heavy seductive like you know, I'm gonna go and seduce this rich man, and get what I want out of it. Whereas it's still there in this one. Obviously, messing with Bruce Wayne, Batman, whoever you want to call him. She's still messing with that, that rich man trying to partially seduce him, just not as heavy as, the past Catwomans have with other characters.
Yeah, and I really liked her character development throughout the entire movie, to see her go from an uncaring criminal, and then see the human side of her that's actually just a person in need, and then going from that to becoming a hero of Gotham. And then, man, I love the ending.
That's even in the comics as well, though.
Really?
I
don't know the
Bruce
comics as well.
and Catwoman both had some form of love interest, but
Oh, well, I knew that. I knew that much, that there was always some kind of back and forth.
I think there's even been comics where they've been married and all this other stuff. Yeah. But the end of the movie, if I could just jump straight to that.
Why not, man? Because I got words.
I was just about to say, let's jump to the end of the movie and kind of give a little description.
Oh my gosh. For one, Alfred got to live his dream. That's what I wrote down!
Yeah.
I wrote that down. I wrote that down.
And
sorry.
He didn't die?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
We need to go on a tangent.
Do you even remember that from the other one?
From Batman and Robin?
Okay, so before we started this podcast, Kyler and I were sitting on the couch. We were
chatting. I was finishing up the run sheet for this episode. And Mike, why don't you just explain why you thought this in the first place?
Okay, so I wasn't going to mention this, but I did not rewatch this movie before potting about it. I watched it when it first came out.
In 2012.
2012.
8 years ago.
So I was 11, not 19. So I'm pulling straight from memory at this point. Then this is just a little experiment, I guess, just see how much I can actually remember about it. However, one of the first questions I asked Kyler was,
This is the movie.
Yeah, this is the one where Alfred dies, right?
I go, no. Heck no. That's not the one where Alfred dies. That's Batman and Robin.
And then I proceed to say, oh, the one where the suits have nipples.
Yes. And then from that point we were thinking about it, and I was like, man, I think all the suits had nipples, even Batgirl's. And
Oh my
I don't
gosh,
mean
really?
to drift into this topic
serious.
and be crude or anything, but it's
Were they cold?
Oh my gosh.
so
Sorry, we're not trying to be crude, maybe Ethan.
maybe Ethan is. So we looked up a picture because I was like, I think Batgirl even had nipples, and so we looked up the suits, and all 3 suits have nipples, and I get it for Batman and Robin. It makes sense. It's supposed to be some kind of intimidating thing where it looks like they're shirtless, so they have these gigantic pecs and ripped abs. And then there's Batgirl, and she has nipples on hers for no reason. It's just, I guess, to go with the other 2 suits. It is the most ridiculous thing, and it's a lot more subtle than Batman and Robin suits. They're just there and hard and out in the open.
Yeah.
But hers
I mean-
are almost kind of like the suit creases almost,
yeah,
and it
like
looks like they just come to a
cones.
little peak. And then we were thinking about it, and we were trying to look at this picture, and we were like staring at it. We were like, does she really have nipples? I can't tell. And then we realized there was this point where the light was like, there was light on one side of that part of her body, and there was a shadow on the other, and we were like, yep, those
are
come to a
nipples.
point.
Those are nipples.
There is shadow on one side and light on the other.
Oh my
And-
god.
Yeah, Batman and Robin. There's so much wrong with that movie.
So you know what? Actually,
So no, this is not the one where Alfred dies.
I enjoyed that. Not to go off topic, but I did enjoy the Batman and Robin movie. Whenever I watched it, I don't remember when I watched it because obviously it's been a while.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
But
Could be
That's
wrong,
okay.
though. Yeah. I
Kyler
don't see a
was
lot of movies.
Kyler was mentioning that that movie is something that you should go into the mindset of it being a comedy versus like a drama.
Because nipples.
Or action, if you will. Yeah, because nipples, I guess.
Because nipples.
I swear.
I don't know how y'all noticed that.
If this
Oh.
podcast ever becomes like a really big thing, we're gonna have like so much merchandise. Just
Let's make mugs that have Batman's nipple armor on them.
just there.
And then
though.
on the
Yes.
other side of the
Across.
mug, on the other side of the mug, it says nipples in comic
Nipples.
format.
No, it's gonna say because
Because
nipple.
nipples.
Because nipples.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Feel free to
Please,
shop.
please make
at,
us a thing, please.
Go sponsor me at a.
Yeah, seriously.
But what I was saying before
Yeah,
we went
sorry,
on this
before
big
I-
nipple.
Before a nipple rabbit trail.
Freaking Alfred lived out his dream and got to see.
Wait, did we ever get to a point about the nipple conversation?
No, we didn't.
Oh my god. I'm around a bunch of children. That's what's going on right now. Freaking Mike.
This is what happens when we talk about nipples. Apparently. Oh Lord.
Okay, continue. Get to your point
Do you-
about something else,
Yeah?
please.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I will get to my point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will.
Great.
Yeah.
Go
Is
Cool.
it
for
about nipples?
You can go for it now.
Yeah? You sure?
Yeah, I think so.
Promise?
You can go for it, but
All right.
I might come up with another nipple. A third nipple.
Or two?
Let's just get to the point. All right.
I'm sorry. That was the last one.
All right. What I was saying is that freaking Alfred, y'all messing me up now. What is it? He got to live out his dream and got to see freaking Bruce Wayne live his life after he faked his death. Which didn't you say that in the
Yeah,
last
okay.
pod?
Okay,
but you
so-
didn't. You haven't seen it in a long time.
So in the last pod.
So you thought he actually died?
No. I was explaining that he faked his death, but what I was also explaining was that, when it was happening. So I made things a little unclear in our last pod. When I was explaining to people that he didn't die, it was in the moment, because it was one of those where it's like, oh, I see what they're doing, but I see through it. Whereas a lot of people were like, no, he's about to kill himself. Oh my gosh, all this stuff. So the whole point where I was explaining to people that didn't realize it, it was while we were watching the movie, pause it and be like, he didn't just die. I promise you he didn't. I see, do you remember that point when he was like, yeah, we have autopilot now?
Yeah, who was the person who did the software patch for autopilot? And they said Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's funny, though, because I watched that scene, and it cuts back and forth between Batman in the
cockpit.
Yes. And
It
I'm
does.
like,
And so that's what gives you that idea or that notion that he's about to go and just blow himself up.
Right, which is confusing. I don't understand how he got to survive. I don't know how he ended up in France with Selena Kyle, but I'm glad he did.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the ending of Alfred seeing him just like he had dreamt about, desired to see, I think that it's a very good ending, and I think it's okay not to know how he did it.
Yeah.
I think it's just like, it's a mystery. He's Batman. He did it, and that's okay.
He's not Batman anymore, though.
Exactly.
which is another thing. I didn't know that was Robin in the entire movie.
Yeah, no.
And then Robin takes the mantle, freaking becoming Batman.
So when did they, in the run sheet on the run sheet, when did they introduce Robin as Robin?
It was.
It was in the last 5 minutes.
Okay. So yeah,
It was
so
He was John Blake the entire movie.
yes,
And then
She's like,
we don't have a John Blake. And he said, what about my legal name? And he hands her
His
the
ID.
ID.
And
And
it
she says,
shows.
I like that name, Robin.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone's like,
yeah, it's
I'm
just
like,
that big
bruh.
epiphany. And you're like, I've been watching you this entire time.
We don't
and-
cough here.
Really?
I'm sorry.
sorry.
We don't do that here.
I hurt my throat.
He said, freaking up a pterodactyl, man.
I love Bane's confidence in this movie. I love the character's confidence because he is so cocky, but he can be so he is so accurate about his confidence in his abilities.
So I know you just found your words to say, but I'm gonna cut you off. Freaking the iconic scene of freaking Bane breaking Batman's back, and then literally, because for those who do not know, I got really bad back problems. I just recently went back to the chiropractor, and there's a scene where Batman's in the jail cell, and there's like a disc just bulging out, and the man just right in the back.
He's like, oh, that felt great.
No, he was in excruciating.
That was sarcasm there.
I'm like, is that how that works? Can you do that to me?
Is that how that works?
No, it's not how that works.
Like, well, technically, it kind of is though, because
That's
chiropractors
how,
just readjust everything. His is just more severe than mine.
That's how becoming paralyzed works.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my words now.
Sorry, I just want to get that a little.
No, you're fine. I love how Bane speaks. I love his mannerisms. He's philosophical. He's a lot of similes and metaphors. He's very theatrical, and it's really entertaining to watch.
So, like you were saying with the whole, he's very accurate in, his confidence.
Yeah.
I have to say that, not just in movies, but in life, if you're going to be, if you're going to be the person that has confidence or an abundance of confidence.
Bane. Just be like Bane. No.
It's, have something to back it up with.
Yeah.
He actually backs up his stuff. He took down big bad Batman. It was one of those. So for him to have that much confidence, it's justified in what he shows.
Totally.
Whereas Joker, he's just a lot of talk and games. Bane, straightforward.
Just as formidable, though.
Yes, just as formidable, but still.
No, you're right. If you're going to be cocky, at least be able to show it.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing about this movie, I've said a lot of things that I loved. I'm going to tell you about something that I absolutely loathe about this movie. This movie cannot figure out what the crap it wants to do with its letterboxing. Y'all give me confused looks. So here's what letterboxing is.
Yeah.
Letterboxing is when you're watching a widescreen format movie. It's the black boxes on top and on bottom that make it widescreen and not full.
Okay.
That's letterboxing. I don't know when I picked up on this in the movie, but it was very early on. They kept going from letterboxed to full screen, back to letterboxed. And there was no, as far as I could tell, there was no rhyme or reason, but it was so distracting because some scenes would be this full frame and then they would cut down to, just the middle of the screen. And I was just like, what the crap is going on? I couldn't focus on the movie anymore. It is just like, I hate this just as much as I hate Thor, the first one. The first Thor movie, they do this thing called a Dutch angle. And it's where most shots are framed straight, balanced. Nothing's tilted, nothing's quirky about the shot. It's just, if two people are talking in a conversation, it's one straight on shot back to the other straight on shot, right? Mm-hmm. It's just regular, that's normal, it looks right. There's this thing called a Dutch angle, and it really gives this sense of craziness, of insanity, of uncomfortability, and it's when you're filming and the camera goes just a tiny bit tilted one way.
Oh.
And then the scene reflects that whenever you're watching the frames back, right? And I mean, it really works if someone's going insane and they're having a psychotic break. You pop that Dutch angle and it looks wonderful.
Yeah, it really gives that emotion, that effect.
Thor had that angle in nearly every single shot of the film. And I was just like, what the freak is going on? Why is this all filmed in Dutch angles? There was a part where Thor was angry and he flips this table in Asgard, and it's a Dutch angle. It makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
When he's being interrogated by Phil Coulson, there's a Dutch angle, I'm sure of it, and it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense when they're just doing normal everyday things, but it's all that way. And I hate that movie because of it. It's hard for me to watch. I feel like I'm seasick because I'm having to tilt my head one way and then the other. Mm-hmm. And this movie is just as bad with its letterboxing. And it's very, very frustrating. My cat is still skittering her toy around.
Not for long. It's underneath the couch now.
Oh, there it goes. Good. The ending. When the police begin their march against all of Bane's men. Holy crap. This is a part of the movie that gives me chills every single time I see it. Because of it's men knowingly walking to their death in pursuit of what's right. Mm-hmm. It's men going up and standing up against a warlord because they believe in justice and not tyranny. Also in that moment, it's really interesting. If you listen to the score, it's playing Bane's theme as they are all marching towards Bane. Really gives a sense of foreboding, of death, of heaviness.
It's like a death song type thing.
But what's another interesting part about that is if you rewind a little bit in the movie and you hear one of the people in the prison explain what the people are chanting in Bane's theme. Because the people who are chanting in the prison, that chant is in Bane's theme throughout the entire film. One of the people in the prison says those words that they're chanting, it translates to rise. And it's a really interesting contrast when you're seeing these policemen who are fighting for good march towards Bane, and Bane's theme is just looming over them. Mm-hmm. But then you realize within that there's this challenge to rise and to stand up, to do what's right. I almost think that there's this shot where it focuses on the blonde officer that ran away, that had hid himself from Gordon, that wouldn't help him. He eventually decides, all right, fine, I'll go help again. And so this blonde officer, he's leading the charge. And I almost think that this theme, the idea of rise, is meant for him, because this is where his story arc concludes. The entire movie, he's chasing fame and glory. And then at this very last moment, he knows that he is doing what's right. And you hear this chant that means rise, and you see him marching and leading this huge army of police officers towards the enemy to take them down. And it is this beautiful redemption arc that not only does he rise and lead, but he also dies doing it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful scene.
So it's funny that you would mention that specific scene, because my last year of high school, I was taking English 1 as just part of my curriculum. So English 1 as in college. I did dual credit. So one of the last few grades that went into the grade book for that entire year was us breaking apart that exact scene from The Dark Knight Rises.
Really?
So my I guess my professor / teacher, because she was still my high school teacher at the same time, she was working on her doctorate at the time.
Okay.
So, and it was specifically for English and all this stuff. So, she had a pretty good grasp on, the breakdown and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so she was just trying to see and get out of us what she could.
Sorry, my cat is scratching her food bowl.
So, we talked about like the color grading where it's very like blue and it's dark.
Yeah.
Because
very steely.
Yes. So the color grading gave you that effect. It was very overbearing. It was very
heavy.
Yeah, it was a very heavy scene. And I mean, even if you didn't have like the ambiance, the music to go with it, the score, whatever you want to call it, all of that stuff. If you had no sound and you were just watching it, it would still be a very heavy scene.
Impactful for sure.
Just because of how they edit all of that stuff and the setup of the scene. And there was the shot where it's like you see everybody and then it pans over to Bane real quick where he's standing in front of that building up on the steps and he's just waiting for the time to come where he's like, okay, it's about to happen.
Yeah.
This is all about to go down. And it's like the biggest part of the movie. It like gives you goosebumps to even just like anticipate it. So I thought that was pretty cool that you chose that scene to talk about.
Now, the last like big thing that I have to say is there's this part where Blake or Robin, he's trying to get all these people across the bridge to safety because there's 11 minutes before the bomb goes off. It doesn't matter at this point, just get people across the bridge. Well, the people who are on the other side of the bridge say no, and they blow the bridge. And, he screams, "You've doomed us all. We're all going to die." And then it cuts to this shot of the priest who's in charge of the boys' home. Mm-hmm. He after the bridge blows, he like looks to his boys and says, "All right, boys, gather around, bow your heads." And I almost cried just seeing that because I felt the immense hopelessness that they all felt at that moment. And that's one reason this is a good movie, is because it really does make you feel for the people in that situation. And so when he's he turns to them and he says, "All right, let's pray," like I can empathize with that. Like being a Christian and having a hopeless moment where the only thing I can do is pray now. Mm-hmm. I respect him because he had the opportunity to try and save people, and he didn't just pray about it first. He just did it, as any Christian who has the opportunity to help someone should. He just went for it. He didn't have to think about it and decide if it was the right or wrong thing to do. It was helping someone. It was showing compassion. It was showing mercy and love. And then
I think
go ahead.
Kind of going a little deeper into that, I think a big part of like being Christian is less about talking and more about showing.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you can talk about the Bible and what everybody preaches all day long, and then you can actually show somebody what he did, what he tried to do at least. So
going with that, if we're gonna go with this example of he tried to show love and mercy and compassion and give hope in this hopeless moment. Mm-hmm. Going with what you just said about having to show it, he did a good job there.
Oh yeah.
Then he did a terrible job immediately after. Because, and I found it so frustrating, and I actually, like, in the movie, I was distracted from the rest of the movie because that powerful part about him just saying, "Come on, let's go pray," me being a Christian, it was an overwhelmingly beautiful and merciful thing to do, to try and give hope in that moment. And then the next time, it cuts away to something else, Batman or Morgan Freeman or whatever, Lucius Fox, I mean, but like it cuts over to them, and then it comes back, and at that point Robin turns around and he's like, "All right, all the boys back on the bus, everyone." And the priest kind of goes like, "What are you doing? There is no hope now. It's an atom bomb. It's going to blow up." And Blake is the one who says like, "That doesn't matter. We're trying to give them hope." Mm-hmm. And I was just so disappointed in the fact that he did this beautifully awesome thing where he prayed for, I'm filling this in because it wasn't shown, but the idea is whenever he turned and prayed with the boys, that it was to give them hope, to give them help from the Lord. But then when it cuts back to him, he turns around and he's like, there is no hope. What are you doing? I was extremely disappointed. And I know that this is not a main character. I know that it is very much a side plot. And I know that Robin's the main character, and I guess it makes more sense for him to be the one to hand out hope. But being a priest who obviously has a heart for taking care of people, otherwise he wouldn't be running the boys' home, I found it just very unfulfilling to have him say there's no hope. What are you doing? Why are they getting on the bus? There's nothing we can do. And while that might be true, it kind of flies in the face of what he just did. And it really disappointed me.
That makes us all look greedy. Like, Christians look greedy. Like, just trying to convert everyone possibly, and then
and not caring for their soul or for their needs or like what?
Yeah, like because it makes the guy look like he basically tried converting all these people so that if they die in this moment, then they'll all go to heaven and whatever. That way, if you give them another form of hope, you take that direction off of God, put it on other people. Does that make sense? Like, they're putting it more on Robin than they did the priest.
Yes, I see what you're saying. It does really reflect poorly on the priest, but if this were real life, which I mean, it makes, like, if it were real life, yeah, it makes sense that would be disappointing. But for the purposes of the movie, I think it does make sense to have Robin be the one to give hope, because
for
again,
the movie, yes,
he's the main character or a main character.
Yeah.
And this priest, he kind of is, but he's a side character, most definitely. And
yeah, it kind of shows the power that Robin has, or I guess the emphasis that Robin has, because he's going against this person that's supposed to be like extremely holy, and because he's a priest.
Yeah,
I mean, he knows the word, all of this stuff, and even when that person that has devoted their life to something that big has given up, Robin still hasn't.
Yeah.
So that even shows the more emphasis on Robin.
Yeah, and I think it was a fine choice for the movie. It was just frustrating as a Christian having to deal with it. But overall, wonderful, 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 wonderful movie. Terrific end to the story of Batman.
And the beginning of Robin.
And the beginning of Robin. If only that were a movie.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, so guys, we actually have a special guest this week. I have a friend, Ryan, who we Zoomed, and we had a talk about the score of this film. So let's go ahead and take a listen to that. Ryan, welcome to the Feature Film Podcast. Glad to have you here. For everyone listening, this is the second time I'm recording with Ryan. I apparently don't know how to work technology, and I deleted our first recording. So we're going to do this whole deal again. We're going to talk about movie scores one more time. How's that sound, Ryan?
Sounds like a plan.
Man. Ryan, tell me, where are you from again?
I'm from a small town in southeast Texas called Buna.
You're from Buna. And
yeah.
You're just a big fan of movie scores, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's probably, I have a lot of top genres when it comes to music, which it's hard to narrow it down, but I love movie scores.
You have a favorite?
That is rough. That's hard. Because my two favorites composers, John Williams and Hans Zimmer, of course. You get the OG with John Williams, and then Hans Zimmer, he's got the newer, fresher stuff, and he likes to use like literally everything, including electronics, not just instruments. But I honestly don't know my favorite movie score, but it's probably going to be something Hans Zimmer wise. I don't know if it'd be Inception or if it would be Amazing Spider-Man 2 or maybe Pirates of the Caribbean 3. I'm not sure. It's one of those three I know, but it's hard to really narrow down my absolute favorite.
I'm with you there. I am very much a Hans Zimmer and John Williams fan. They're kind of the kings of the, orchestral motif and all the stuff that goes into creating beautiful themes. But like,
Yes.
I'd probably, if I had to pick one, I have a list. I have a playlist on Spotify. I call it inspiring scores. I put it on whenever I'm working on videos. If I'm working on stuff that doesn't involve sound, just to give me inspiration. And I gotta say, I think my favorite score is probably Star Wars Episode 2.
Really?
It's random, but man, there's a theme. The song is called Across the Stars, and it's the love theme.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it is beautiful. And I think even I rewatched the sequel Star Wars trilogy recently, and I think I even heard a few callbacks to that here and there in those movies, which I thought was really cool. I was very sad that those themes got stuck in the prequels. You know, there was no way to carry that into the originals because
they're like 30 years apart.
Exactly. So, but yeah, I that's probably my top score that I love. But you know, along with that is Pirates of the Caribbean 1 and probably Indiana Jones. So.
Okay. Yeah.
But
I know a bunch of the films from like the 90s. I think it was James Horner and I think it's James Newton Howard. I don't remember his name, but they did a bunch of like the big blockbusters from the 90s. And I don't know which one did it, who did the Apollo 13 soundtrack, but oh my gosh, if you just watch Apollo 13, the music is just, it's so good. And the same guy who did Apollo 13 did Deep Impact, which was like an Armageddon type movie. And I believe it was the same composer, and it's just like they sound similar, but the Apollo 13 soundtrack, it's beautiful.
James Horner.
Really very orchestral, just it's beautiful.
I looked it up. It's James Horner.
Okay.
And he worked a lot with James Cameron, if I'm correct.
Yes, he did.
But anyway, not the point of what we're here to talk about.
No.
So I watched The Dark Knight recently, and I do love the music in this movie. I just want to know, is there anything that really stuck out to you in this movie, score-wise? There are moments.
Well, I know because like John Williams does and Hans Zimmer does, especially if you have like sequels, you tend to take the same theme and kind of go off of it. Like Hans Zimmer did it with Klaus Badelt's for Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
He took it and then did more with the second one, did more with the third one. Danny Elfman did the same thing with the Spider-Man trilogy. So he had the central theme in Spider-Man 1, took it, added more to it, Spider-Man 3, took it, added more to it, Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. But basically, Hans Zimmer took his same basic theme for Batman Begins, added more to it for The Dark Knight, and then added even more to it for The Dark Knight Rises. The one that really stands out, which I don't remember off the top of my head what it's called, but it's when they're in the pit, you hear that chanting that they have.
Yeah.
My younger brother, he for some reason thought it was, "This is awesome, awesome." I was like, "That's not what they're saying," but that's really the biggest like change that he had, taking the Dark Knight. Well, I mean, the whole Dark Knight trilogy, taking that same basic theme and adding to it. But the man loves brass, which I'm great because I'm a trumpet player.
Yes,
and you can just, that's like the big thing is bum bum. And I don't know if it was the Dark Knight trilogy or if it was Interstellar or something. But I read like the coolest thing about their recording, because what they'll do is whenever composers record these, that they're in like a studio and it's the whole orchestra and they're recording it. Well, what Hans Zimmer did, which again, I don't know if it was for this trilogy, if it was another movie that he composed for, he had it he recorded in some sort of like big room. I don't think it was a cathedral, but it has some sort of balcony. And he put the French horns in the balcony and recorded that way. And it's just like, boom, like like the man is a genius, and how he comes up with some things, like the fact that he can team up with DJs and make music, like I don't get it. I don't know how the man does it, but he's a genius, and I bow to him anytime I hear his movies. Goodness.
Yeah. When I was listening to the when I words, I don't know how to word apparently.
I can't English.
When I was watching The Dark Knight Rises, I don't think I was really paying attention to the score in the first half of the movie, but I finally realized, and this is why I love why scores are so powerful. But like,
absolutely,
this is why scores they just work so well in movies. When after the part where Bruce escapes the prison and they're all chanting the "This is awesome" thing. After he escapes, and the first time you see him back in Gotham, he's in the darkness and he emerges out of the shadow into the light, and they play that 2-note motif, and it's just this beautiful, like, chilling moment where it's like, oh, he's back, and
The Dark Knight Rises, but
oh, there you go, exactly. It's kind of funny, but that's pretty true of the situation,
right.
So that's why movie scores are so powerful, because they can really cause you to emote,
It changes the mood of like the whole scene or whatever is going on.
Absolutely. I think I say this in the podcast, but I find the theme for Bane, the "This is awesome" theme.
Mm-hmm.
There's this moment where all the police are charging at Bane, and you just, as they're running, you hear this the "This is awesome" theme over them as they're running towards Bane, and it's this real foreboding moment. But I love that, you kind of forget it in the moment, and you really have to stop and think about it. But the words that they're saying, they mean rise. That's what the prisoners said.
Right.
And it's really interesting to have Bane's theme playing over the shot of the police running, and having that really mean rise. And you're seeing them rise to meet this challenge. It's really this beautiful moment. And music in movies can do such cool things like that, where words just kind of fail, and so I do think that this is not, my favorite score, but it is truly moving, and it really does connect you to the movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think for me, when it comes to moods with music and changing what's going on, two really come to mind. So of the Pirates of the Caribbean, I love all of them. I love all the soundtracks, but the third one's probably my favorite, just because the big, like, when they're fighting in the typhoon, it's, and I own the soundtrack. It's like 9 minutes long, but he changes, like, the song changes like moods and styles like 3 different times in that like 9 minutes, and of course it's it's that. Some other stuff he added for the third film, and then Elizabeth and Will like get married like right there on the spot. Barbossa's like, he's conducting the wedding, and he's like, kiss, you may kiss, oh, just kiss, and they kiss, and it's the music that's playing. It's like, oh, it's just, it's a very beautiful theme that he wrote. I don't think it's in the first or second movie, but it's in the third one, and it's just, oh, it makes me want to cry. It's such a beautiful little etude that he has going on there. It's just, oh, it's gorgeous. And then after they got done kissing, it gets back to da-da-da, da-da-da. I was like, how does he do it? It's so weird how he does that.
But it fits,
It works. Like, if you're watching the movie, the whole thing makes sense. If you listen to it by itself, you can literally play the whole scene in your mind while it's going on. It's crazy. But also, like, Inception, that's one of my top ones. The very, very, and it's probably one of his most best-selling songs by itself ever. At the very end of the movie, when they wake up from the whole dream, It's called Time, I believe, is the name of the song, and it is just, it's gorgeous. And
it's on my Spotify list.
Words aren't said at all, except for like the very end when like he says hi to his kids or whatever. But as soon as they wake up from the dream, it's playing. It's playing as they go through the airport and as he goes home, and then the whole thing is just. I mean, it's something else. And the song ends right when the movie ends, and then of course the credits roll, and you got the. And it changes like the whole mood. But I don't of all the Hans Zimmer stuff, that those two are up, or movie scenes in general, those are two of my favorite. And I know I mentioned it earlier, the one that I think doesn't get enough credit is the Amazing Spider-Man 2 soundtrack. That of course is a Hans Zimmer one. And that's the one where he teamed up with Junkie XL. I think he's a DJ, and they did the whole score for that one. But of course, whenever he's flying through the air, swinging through the air, there's a theme he has for Spider-Man. And at the very, very end of the movie, because of course they tried to open it up to a third movie, which they didn't make. But it's very fanfare-ish. It's all brass. Because they're kind of, it's playing as he's about to fight Rhino. And as soon as the movie ends, it shows the Spider-Man logo. And it goes bum 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 bum, and it's all brass, and it's a big fanfare. I'm like, oh, I love it so much, and I'm just glad that it plays throughout the whole movie and not just that one scene. But it gives me chills.
Man, one of the coolest and hardest things that I have knowledge of, but I don't know this experientially, like. When it comes to music and melding with the movie,
mm-hmm.
It's a hard job because, like, when you think about it, you're having the composer is having to weave the musical story around the visuals plus the sound that goes with the visuals.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it's amazing how composers are so deft at weaving their sound around explosions and then still having the ability to let the melodies flourish and grow.
And can change the mood like a drop of a hat.
Exactly. And composers, I don't know if sure, there's an Academy Award for Best Score, I'm sure, but they probably don't get enough credit. The two that probably do get enough credit, and I'll even expand it to three, are John Williams and Hans Zimmer and James Horner.
Of course.
Those are probably the three that get the credit where it's due. So, yeah. Man, that's all I have. Do you have anything to add?
I mean, I could go all day on movie scores, honestly.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Whenever you come back next time, I'm going to try to challenge myself to listen to the entire score on Spotify before I talk to you, so I can actually say something a little bit more substantial than I did today.
That's whatever you want to do. That's cool.
Man, thank you for joining me on the podcast. We really appreciate your insight. I'm so happy that you got to be a part of this and that you're able to talk to us about music. I love music, and I'm happy that we're able to include it on our podcast.
I'm glad we could finally do it because we've been talking about doing this for months now.
I know. Man, scheduling is really difficult when it comes to three people trying to get together to podcast. Plus,
I understand,
because having a guest is extra work, but I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Cool. Well, man, it is good seeing you. But
good seeing you as well.
I'll talk to you later. All right, brother.
All right.
I was very excited to have Ryan be able to come on and share his thoughts about music in general, and even parts of this movie as well. So anyway, that's all about the music. Shall we do our game?
Sure. Let's do it.
Okay. This will be quick, probably, because Mike's more than likely going to lose. But this game, Ethan's freaking cheating.
I didn't even see it. I took off my glasses.
I'm gonna say everyone's British.
Okay.
I'm gonna go tunnel vision on, but I can't look at the camera. So you know what? I'll play with my eyes closed.
So the game, it's really just one question: is this actor British? I kept thinking about it, and I was like,
Is it British
man.
exclusive or is
I
it like
wonder-
European?
I was just gonna say.
No, I have made a distinction.
Okay.
If they are British, they're British. If they're European, I've in the answers I've written down where they're from.
Okay. So it has to be specifically British.
British.
Okay.
Or English, if you want to go with that.
I barely
If
even
they
know actor names.
if they live in the UK, I have made the distinction. They have to
Okay.
be part of Britain or England or whatever I'm going to call it. All right, so here we go. First actor, are they British? Christian Bale.
No.
No.
Yes.
He is?
Yes?
Really?
Yeah,
British?
he's British.
No way.
Watch interviews. He
I was-
has.
does he have the accent?
He has an accent.
Okay. So
He does a really good American
Christian
accent.
Bale?
He's
one
British.
thing about accents
All right,
that
I'm
has
gonna keep up
always
with
caught
the
me.
score.
Something that's
Thank you.
always caught me off guard was Keith Urban. Keith Urban is like, I think he's Australian,
Yeah.
but the country voice is it's all just a facade.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, because he was on some talk show one day, and I'm like, there's no way that he's actually talking about this. Same thing with Hugh Jackman. I was like, oh my gosh, that's actually
He's
Hugh
Australian.
Jackman.
He's British or Australian.
Yeah, he's
Right,
Australian.
Australian.
So I was just talking about like the accent going from an Australian accent to very American, what we see in movies is insane.
Christian Charles Philip Bale was born in Pembrokeshire, Wales, UK.
Wow.
So there you go. All right, the next one. Hey, stop worrying about the time, Ethan. We're gonna make it fine. Thank you. Okay, so the next actor, is he British? Michael Caine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 1-1.
Yeah.
Should we answer simultaneously?
Sure.
So we're gonna 3, 2,
3,
1.
2. I'll count down 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Okay. Next person is Morgan Freeman British.
No.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
definitely not. No, it's okay. That's fine. Yeah,
Like-
no.
No, that was my fault. I was like, we should count down.
I had the exact same answer, anyways.
Born in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Next person.
Don't forget to count down.
Yes, sorry.
Don't forget to wait.
Yeah, don't forget to wait. Okay. Marion Cotillard. Miranda Tate. That's the character. 3, 2, 1.
Yes.
No.
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 We suck at this.
At least we know Morgan Freeman.
Marion, I'm sorry if I butcher your last name, but Marion was born in Paris.
Okay.
Oh.
She's
Not
You-
British.
Europe, but
Europe.
She's French.
Yeah.
All right. Actor Gary Oldman. Is he British? 3, 2, 1.
Yes.
Yes. Good job. Okay. I was surprised that y'all knew that one. Good job.
That was just a guess. If the last one was no, I had to go with yes.
All right. Is the actor British? Anne Hathaway. 3, 2, 1. Go.
No.
Correct. All right. Is the actor British? Joseph Gordon-Levitt. 3, 2, 1. Go.
Yes.
No.
What?
What in the world?
I don't know some of these people, so I'm just
Yeah,
guessing.
Mark, high five.
Honestly,
Because
though.
we're doing the same thing. We don't really
Simultaneously.
know.
He was
look.
born in Los Angeles.
I'm just going based off of name, honestly.
That's fair. That sounds like a European kind of name. All right.
Oh
okay,
my
okay, okay.
gosh.
He played Robin. He played Booker. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Is the actor British? Cillian or Killian Murphy? 3, 2, 1. Go.
Yes.
Ethan's correct.
Okay.
He's not British.
Oh, man.
He's Irish.
Irish, okay.
Irish. Okay.
Is that still over in Europe, right?
It's in Europe.
Okay, I was making sure.
I think it's the UK.
It's like up there.
It's part.
in the
It's
corner.
hooked in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
But there's
Yeah.
the UK's a mess.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brexit. All right, final one. Here we go. Is this actor British? Liam Neeson. 3, 2, 1. Go.
No.
I'm going to say yeah, but I'm going to say yeah. I know it's a no, but I feel like
It's
it's
no.
a
He's Irish.
Okay.
We tied.
Sweet.
Oh, frick. All right, I gotta figure out a tiebreaker.
Oh no.
Hold on. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
You literally guessed
All right.
every same answer except that one.
Here we
I could've
go.
Won the game.
Here we go. Here we go. Are we ready?
Yes,
Yep.
we're ready.
All right. Is the actor British? Oh, I don't have the answer yet. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
So what if we-
is the actor British? If
Say
you
the same
tie, I don't know. We'll figure
Just
something
leave
out.
it, yeah.
Is the actor British? Tom Hardy. 3, 2, 1. Go.
No.
He is British.
He
He actually is British.
Michael
Oh
loses
my
again. Goodness.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy?
Tom Hardy is
Does he have the
British.
accent?
He does.
Oh my goodness! I need to
Tom
watch
Hardy?
more interviews.
I didn't
apparently.
even-
He uses
I
the
knew he was
accent in
I didn't know the name, but I know the
Inception.
face. Yeah.
He's
I
British
don't-
in Inception.
I don't think I've seen all the way through Inception.
I did not know his name at all. Like, I didn't know who he was talking about. I just kind of BS my way through the entire game.
Let's talk about this. Like in Venom, he pulled off that New York accent
Oh,
amazingly
perfect.
well.
Well, New York and British is kind of similar. Like
New
one's
York
more
and well, that's more like New Jersey, but
Yeah.
whoops.
like, hey, I'm walking here.
Hey, I'm walking here.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm walking
I mean
here.
that's not really British.
I know, but if you have more like it's close to Cockney, a Cockney accent.
I can kind of hear that. Anyway, that's the game. Ethan won.
I
Michael.
lose
Or
for.
was that a tie?
Is that my second
I
or third
won.
loss in a row? I was
that-
thinking my second. It was my second loss.
That
in
was
a
your
row.
second
No.
loss in a row. Michael.
Punishment.
No, that's my third loss in a row. Even better.
Oh man, I think
Hey,
he deserves a special punishment.
If you're
for
gonna
that.
if you're gonna go down, you better go down in flames.
Oh man, you were a spectacular failure.
And me and Michael still BS'd our way through the entire
Honestly.
game.
Hey, that
We
was a
had
good
no
one though.
idea.
Y'all had some good competition in that one. Good job.
I'm looking at all the American Anna Hathaway. You didn't really have that many.
There's not a lot of Americans in this movie.
Oh, you just went off of everyone in the movie.
Yeah.
I guess I
Liam
can see that.
Neeson in
Honestly,
this movie?
it's funny for such an American movie.
Yeah.
It's not a very American
Who's
role.
Who's
I don't
Liam
think
Neeson?
Liam Neeson?
Who do you play?
So
Ra's al Ghul. This is why I texted you and said there are some characters we might have to explain.
Oh,
Because
okay.
Ra's al Ghul was the villain from the first one, but he had a lot to do with this movie.
Gotcha.
Let me say, I think I brought this up in The Dark Knight, but this movie really can bother me as well. And they did this with Pirates of the Caribbean. But when you have a trilogy of movies and you try to connect two, but not in the third or the second or what, if you leave a movie out, like it really bothers me because it's like you had a consistent storyline. If you were going to connect the first and the third, why wasn't this somewhere in the second as well? And then Pirates of the Caribbean did it as well because, yeah, whatever. Anyway, not the point.
Anyway, Michael
Let's-
lost.
yeah,
We'll
Michael-
Figure out.
that's the point.
You're gonna,
Michael
have,
lost.
you're gonna have a really bad punishment. Me and Ethan are gonna put a lot of thought into this one because
Yeah.
you've lost 3 times in a row and you suck.
I still love you, but you
No,
suck.
we love you, but you suck
You suck eggs.
because nipples.
Wait,
So
so never mind.
suck in nipples.
I was
in the
just-
same sense.
Do you know how? I was just about to say because I suck nipples. That's what I was gonna say.
Oh man.
Oh my god.
Okay.
So, no bloopers on this reel, please.
Oh, dude, I don't know.
So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and play the clip for the next pod.
Our after credit scene in 3, 2, 1. Roll film.
Where are you?
Here. Awesome. Thank you for joining us all. We love you very much.
Real credits.
Thank you, Ryan, for joining us for the podcast.
One more time.
One more time.
One more time.
That was my cat.
Dang
My
it.
cat is needy. My cat's very needy. She doesn't like when she doesn't have attention. The other cat is fine. She's sleeping. She's great.